All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of A Course in Miracles with yours truly, Oliver Blue, as your temporary host and guide and coach and teacher and brother. And welcome to this session, and I'm delighted to be here. It's a special, well, it's not a special. I'm learning not to say that it's special because specialness is what gets us all in an entanglement. In reality, there is no specialness. There's only oneness. In reality, there is no respecter of person. There is no inequality. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna watch how I use that word special. It was it was this specialness that plunged all of us into a state of fear. Mm. You know, that's what individuation or individual or indivisible, or that's what divided means. That there is a great divide, and then there's a unequal application to the divide. And that is the whole concept of separation. That's the whole concept of division. That is the basis for which things went wrong. So I got to watch how I use that word special. No, there's no specialness in reality. There's no specialness in love. There's complete equanimity. There's complete equality. What we're going to learn today there, that in reality, there's only this holy instant where time cannot touch, where time cannot have an impact. Other spiritual concept says it this way. They call it the presence. The Course talks about love's presence. The Bible talks about it is in the presence that there's fullness and pleasures forevermore. And so we're going to talk about that timeless space. See, when we are engaged in the present moment, the holy instant, there is no time. We have transcended time. Where there is no longer a remembrance of the past, where there is no longer a concept of the future, where there is only this instant, this present moment, that we have transcended time. We have transcended all of the illusions of sin, consciousness, guilt, and fear when we remain present, because it is in this very moment that is what is determining our experience. What are we thinking? How are we seeing? How are we perceiving? What do we know in this very moment? And so today we're going to be looking at workbook lesson 308 on page 453 in the workbook for students out of our guidebook, The Course in Miracles. And we are moving on up towards a new beginning, because there is no end. There's only beginnings and new beginnings. Each and every moment is a new beginning. Each and every instant of every moment is a new beginning. And when we think this way, time has no effect on us. Tomorrow I celebrate what we call here a birthday. It's the birth of the body. It's not the birth of myself, but it's the birth of the body, where I get to express myself through the body. There is a difference. Myself, which is God's self, is eternal and infinite and self-aware. The body is just a temporary communication device whereby I can communicate by choice the self that I am, the self that we share, where I can put on display the nature that we all share, which is love. But I am not the body. But the body serves me well, and it will serve anyone well when we understand its purpose and don't give the body purposes that it cannot fulfill. The reason there's so much suffering in the world is because the world is giving the body, is making the body. The world has made the body the main attraction. The world has made the body the central figure in the dream of separation. Do you know that your body is the central figure in the dream? You notice that at night when you fall asleep and you dream a dream, do you notice that the body is the central figure in the dream? That's all by design. In your waking life, what we say, your conscious awareness, the body is the central figure in that dream. Until one awakens, one becomes enlightened, or one is until one recognizes that the body is but a temporary, serviceable communication device that allows us to have communication, to have an expression, to be a device by which we can, on this horizontal plane, communicate something, because we're always communicating something through the body. Always. We're always teaching something. And what we're communicating and what we're teaching is what's in our minds. And if what's in our minds is false, then what we're communicating and teaching is the false. But if what's in our minds is what's in God's mind, or what the Course or other spiritual writings call the mind of God, or the mind of Christ, or Christ consciousness, then that body becomes the communication device to communicate and to express the mind of Christ or the mind of God, the will of God. I don't know how I got on that, but here we are. So today's lesson out of 308, and we're still in this section on what is the second coming. And we have concluded that it is the same as the first coming. and it is the last coming. And so today's idea is a further expression of that one coming. Because there's only the one. It's a further support of the idea that God is one and that all has been reconciled into the one. And so the idea states that this instant, this very instant, and every time we say instant, that instant is over and we're into another instant and then another instant. But in this instant is the only time that there is. When you in an instant, there is no past and there is no future. It is the only instant, or it's the only time that there is. So when we stand in an instant, we're not standing on a horizontal perception where you would have a concept of a past and a concept of a future. But when we embrace this very instant that we're in, what we are doing is that we are aligning ourselves with the reality. That there is only infinity. There's only the infinite, which is a quality of the eternal. And when we say that something is infinite, that means it has no beginning and it has no end. In other words, it has no past, it has no future. It just is. And those are the qualities that we were born in and born with. That's why we have said here for over 300 days that our true reality transcends time and space and form. Our reality transcends that. When we stand in the instance of our creation, we have a revelation that we are these timeless and that we are these formless beings that are not trapped in the limitations that are characteristic of this idea of separation. Time can only serve a tiny mad idea of separation. It cannot serve the infinite. Time cannot serve eternity. They are not attributes. Time is not an attribute of infinity. It's not an attribute of eternity. And eternal life is not something that is off in the future. But eternal life is everywhere present at all time. It is omnipresent. The love that we share, it is omnipresent. The one life that we live is omnipresent. And here is termed the holy instant. The holy instant is the only time that is present. This moment right now. And that's the only thing that really matters is this moment right now. And each and every moment is all that is that matters. So from a eternal, infinite perspective, from a God perspective, from an enlightened perspective, from a awakened perspective, there's only the now. There's only this instant. There's only this one instant in which all things consist. And this is our reality. This is your reality. This is a lesson in timelessness. If you've never seen yourself as a timeless being, you will see yourself that way when we finish this lesson, because that's the truth. That's true always. That is the perception that you can begin to can begin to abide in, because there's benefits. Like even Scripture says, in the present, in that holy instant, there's fullness of joy. See, fullness of joy. That's where the fullness of joy reside, in the present. And then it goes on to say that there are pleasures forevermore. Where? In the presence. It's not in time and space, but it is in the awareness that each moment is the present moment, that each moment is the holy instant. Notice now, it's a holy instant, meaning it is complete. It is it has everything that is anything within that moment. It is whole. And so this instant is the only time that there is. This is our idea for today. This is what we are to embrace in our minds, in our thinking, in our perception. That each moment, in each moment of the day, and each day, in every moment, in every day is the moment, and every moment is the moment, and it's holy. And there is but this holy instant. There's a section in the text section of the course, chapter 15. There's a whole entire chapter on the subject of the holy instant. And if you are a custodian of the book A Course in Miracles, you can go there and you can study this section, and it will just bring even more awareness to this grand God idea. I'm just going to read the first chapter. Not the first chapter. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. And it is so power packed in this first paragraph. It'll be enough for us and lay enough groundwork for us to get into the lesson. So chapter 15 on page 301 out of the course, in the text portion, it says the holy instant. That not just in this instant, the lesson says in this instant, but in the text it talks about this instant is holy. It's the holy instant. And every instant is a holy instant. Every tick of time, as we know time to be, is an instant. It's a holy instant. In each instant, there is nothing missing. There is nothing broken. There is no lack. There is no need met in every moment. It says, can you imagine? Can you use your imagination? You've been given imagination to imagine. So the question is yes, I can. That's why we was given imagination. That is what makes us just like our dad. In the creation story, it says that we were created in the imagination, the image or the imagination of God. In other words, we are God's imagining. God imagined himself. And in that imagination, we became conscious of God's imagining. So we, in truth, are the imagination of God. That's God's creative process. It's through imagination. God imagines something and what? Boop, there it is. So can you imagine? Of course, it's one of the 6 mental faculties that we all have, the ability to imagine. And in the idea of imagination, there is no what? There is no time. There is no process. There is no limitation. You can imagine whatever you want. And so it's asked a rhetorical question. Can you imagine? The answer is yes. So this tells us something about ourselves, that our imagination was given to us so that we can imagine a life, so that we can imagine an experience, so that we can imagine a creation. Everything that has been brought to form, look around you, look in the room that you are in. Everything around you came through the imagination of man. Everything in form came through the imagination of man. Everything that is what? Formless came through the imagination of God. Even ourselves, even our identification. We are an imagining. We're not an image, but we're an imagining. That's a huge difference. So, can you imagine what it means to have no care? Can you imagine that? To have not one care in the world. Can you imagine being without care completely, totally and completely? Can you imagine having no worries? No anxieties? But merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine having that experience? No cares, no worries, no anxiety. That's like pitching a shutout. No hits, no runs, no errors in baseball. That's like a perfect end. They call that a perfect ending, a perfect inning, where there's no hits, no runs, no errors. But there's only the presence of this holy instant. Can you imagine a life of no cares, no worries, and no anxiety? Who wouldn't want that? I know everyone that I have ever met, they would love to have a life where there are no cares, there are no worries, man, and there's no anxiety. where there is no cares, where there are no worries, and there are no anxieties, one would have to know that there is no past and that there is no future to be concerned about. Because cares and worries and anxieties only take place in a space that we call past, in a space that we call future. But here we're being introduced to the idea that in reality, there is no past, there is no future. There's only the now. There's only this holy instant. And this is just the first sentence in this section. It's telling us right here. Can you imagine? Yes, you can. Can you imagine? Here's another one. Can you imagine living a life where there is no sickness? There's no diseases. There's no scarcity. There's no lack. Can you imagine a life like that? Yes, you can. Can you imagine a life where there is no war, no fighting, no division? Yes, you can. Yet, that is what time is for. Let me go back. I think I left out something. Can you imagine what it means to have no cares, no worries, no anxiety, but merely to be perfectly calm and quiet all the time? Yet that is what time is for. If you never knew what time is for, this is what time is for. If we want to give meaning to time, it says that's what time is for. To imagine or to live in a space where there's no cares, no worries, no anxiety, but complete calmness of mind, perfect calmness and quietness at all times. Yet this is what time is for, to learn just that and nothing more. So if you never understood your purpose for being in time, it's for you to learn perfect calmness and quietness. Perfect calmness and quietness. Perfect calmness and quietness. Sounds like peace to me. So we're here to learn peace. Peace is the goal. We've said it many times. Peace is what really all humanity desires. Calmness of mind, quietness of heart. God's teachers, and I'm one of them. God's teachers cannot be satisfied with his teaching until it constitutes all your learning. God's teachers are not satisfied with his teachings until it constitutes all of the students' learning. The teacher has not fulfilled his teaching function until you have become such a consistent learner that you learn only of him. Him here represents your true self, or it represents Christ, or your true identity. When this has been, when this has happened, when this has been accomplished, you will no longer need a teacher. You will no longer need time in which to learn. So I think we just found out something that we did not know. At least I did. That time is for perfect calmness and for perfect quietness to be realized. Perfect calmness, perfect quietness. And we have been placed in the most busiest, noisiest environment that one could be placed in, called the world, to learn this lesson. Isn't that something? We have been put in an extreme environment, a very extreme environment. This world is very extreme. It goes from one extreme to the other. And we have been placed here to learn the lesson of what? To learn the lesson or the lessons of perfect calm and perfect quiet in the noisiest, place in the universe. Isn't that something? You talk shock and awe. And so back to the lesson. Now that we've learned the purpose of time, now we've learned that ultimately it is about our calmness of mind and our quietness of heart. It's about peace. We are using time to remind us of the peace that we share. The goal, even of the course, the goal is peace in a chaotic world. How can you have peace in a chaotic world? It would have to be what? It would have to be a supernatural happening, right? But in reality, it's not a supernatural happening. It's just a natural happening but peace is a part of our essence. Quietness of mind, calmness of mind, quietness of heart. It's at the core of our identification. And if we're not exercising that calmness of mind and that quietness of heart, that's why time continues until we learn the lesson. So that's why you're here. And we thought it was about the car and the girl and the house and the job and the boat and the jet and the money. It's not about any of those things. That's children's bread, according to scripture. Children's bread. But where the real value is in life is the knowing of the calmness of mind. And the quietness of heart. You really have to know something to abide in that experience. And let's learn what is it that we have to know, since that is the purpose. So this instant is the only time that there is. I have conceived of time in such a way that I defeat my very own aim. We have conceived of time in such a way that it defeats our purpose. It defeats our interests. And we don't know that. We didn't know what time was for. We don't know what the goal is of time. And so we're just using time as we made it up. We use time to get stuff. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. Don't get me wrong. It has its place too. It has its purpose too. Once its purpose has been given over to God. So if I elect, or if I choose to reach past time to timelessness, that means that it is possible for you to enter into timelessness, even while you appear to be in this state called time. That you can enter into timelessness. We can do that. It says, we must change our perception of what time is for. In other words, we have to give up what we knew time to be. If we are to reach past time into timelessness, which is our natural state of being. Why? Because we were created in timelessness. We were created in formlessness. We were created in the present. And that present remain as it always were. That timelessness and that formlessness, it remains as it always were. Therefore, we remain as we always were. But we got what? We got distracted by time and by form, and left our original habitat in our minds and went on a far, far journey. We call it our life or my history or my story. That's what history is. His story, your story. We're telling a story. Like, you know how it was. When we was kids, they said, Mommy's telling a story. Well, your life is telling a story, but what story is it telling? What story is your life telling? Is it telling the story of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear? Is it telling the story of birth and death? Is it telling the story of instability? Is it telling the story of time and space, beginnings and endings, comings and goings? Is it telling the story of interpretations that are false? Is it telling the stories that are founded on belief in scarcity, loss, separation, and death? Is this story learned? Is it taught? Is this story selective? In other words, it has a lot of options. Is this story unstable? And is this story inaccurate that you're telling? Your life is telling a story. We can read your life. We can read your life because it's telling a story. In other words, it's communicating your belief. It's communicating your mindset. It's communicating your thoughts. Is your mind the mind of Christ? Is your thoughts the thoughts of God? We'll know, like he said, by the fruit that the life bears. Are they fruits of love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and self-control? They call them the fruit of the Spirit. We're always communicating something, regardless of what we're doing. We're always communicating something. And so, are we electing to reach past time to timelessness? We must change our perception of what time is for. And we have just read over in the section on the holy instance, and it shared with us what time is for. It is for the calming of the mind and the quietness of the heart. The settling down, the embracing of the peace that we share. It is the acceptance of the knowing of our true identity as beyond time and beyond space and beyond form, and settling down in that, even in the time and in form and in space. Hmm. Time's purpose cannot be to keep the past and the future one. The purpose of time is not about the past nor the future. And we put so much emphasis on what the past. We put so much credence on the future. And now we're discovering that the purpose of time is not for neither. The only really interval or internal, the only interval it's like the space between the letters on your page. Those are intervals. Look at the space between the letters. Look at the space between words. Those are called intervals. It says so. The only interval in which we can be the experience of our true self here is called salvation, that we can be saved. The only interval by which we can be saved from time is now. It's what's in between the letters, what's in between the words. It's what's in between the noise and the noiseless. There is a stillness that exists between the lines, the words, the paragraphs. There's a stillness that abide between your thoughts. Between your spoken word. There's an interval. Viktor Frankl said it this way: between stimulus and response, there's a space between stimulus and response. When we're stimulated, and prior to us making any type of response, there is a space. It's the most precious space there is. It is a space of timelessness. And so Viktor Frankl said that in between stimulus and response, there is a space. It's called timelessness. Before you speak, before you react, or before you respond to anything that you may be stimulated by, inform, There is an eternal, infinite space that you can check in with. And Viktor Frankl says, in this space is our freedom. Our freedom to choose. Our freedom to choose. To choose what? Reality versus what? Unreality. The truth versus falsehood. So the pause is a very important practice that we all need to become proficient at, so that we check in with our reality, that we check in with the truth before we respond or react to anything, to any stimuli. It's called the pause. The Bible calls it patience. We need to allow patience to have its perfect work, because in the space of patience there is this place of calmness and stillness and quietness. Our identification, our reality. The only interval in which I can be saved from time is now. This now moment. In the space, in the interval, in the place between stimulus and response. For in this instant, notice now, it's only an instant. But it's an eternal instant. It is a holy instant. It is an infinite instant. It is where all the infinite intelligence reside. It is where our very life reside, in that interval, in that holy instant. And each tick of time is but an instant. Every tick of the time is an instant in which we get to choose once again. And again, and again, and again. So our experience here is a series of choices, again and again and again. Every day and every moment of the day, we're choosing if we would take our place among the saviors of the world, or remain in hell. That's what they're calling the past and the future, is hell, because they don't exist. They are felonious. They are false. They are illusions. That's why we train those that we mentor, those we coach, to say, I am so happy and grateful now, because there's only the now. There's only the now. For in this instant has forgiveness come to set me free. In that space between stimulus and response, there's forgiveness. There's freedom to choose. Oh, we're finding out all kind of stuff. If we would pause for a moment and check in. The birth of Christ is now. Oh, the birth of Christ is in that instant. So that means that in every instance there is a new birth. There is a newness of life. In every moment there is a quality of infinity and eternity and the truth and reality And the one law of God, which is the law of love, is in every moment. In other words, the Course says it cannot teach us about love because love cannot be taught. Love can only be known. But what can happen and what is happening if you are engaging in these workbook lessons, what is happening is that what love can't be taught. But these teachings and the application of these teachings can help remove all the blocks that we have placed between us and the interval. That we can remove all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. That love is present in every moment. That life is present in every moment. Every tick of time is but a moment in which life reignites itself. Your body in the physical evolution, it creates new cells all the time. It's creating new life. The generation of new cells and new life is happening all the time in every tick of time. So life in its very nature is all about the recreation of more life, the expansion and the extension of more life. And this is what our life should be communicating. And in that perception and in their view, there is no death. In that perception and in their view, there is no sin. In that perception and in that view, there is no guilt. There's no judgment. There's no condemnation. There's no second coming because what all has already come and it remains. We just reckon. So the second coming is but a recognition that the first had come and the first remains. That's the only second coming that this world will ever see. Wait as long as you can. Humanity has been waiting for a long time, ever since religion wrote that concept of a return, not knowing that Jesus never left. God never left. And you never separated yourself. The birth of Christ is now, without a past and without a future. This Christ, or this oneness that we share, which is what Christ is, this moment, this holy instant, this rebirth, this continuous expression of life, which is what oneness is. It has come to give its very own present blessing to a world of time and space. Restoring the world to timelessness and love. You didn't know your purpose, you know it now. We are part of that restoring of love to time. We are a part of presenting the blessings to the world. We are part of the forgiveness of the world. That's our purpose. We are here for love. We are here for God. We are here for to express the oneness of God that we all share. And when we realize this, we would walk away from the craziness that we thought we were doing, but we realized we were misrepresenting our entire purpose for being here. We had misinterpreted time. We were misusing time. And we've been called to the timeless, to the formless. We've been called to love. That is everywhere present. It penetrates, it permeates, and it fills all the interspaces and the outer spaces and between spaces. It fills all the holy instant. And love is ever present. See, the awareness of love's presence. Love is ever present. Here and now. Love is never absent. Love has forgotten no one. This instant is the only time that there is. And it is timeless. Because there's no past, no future. It's only the now. And the now, and the now. And that's why scripture says, now faith is now. It's the evidence of what those behind us have hoped for. It's the substance of the thing that was hoped for. It's the evidence of the thing that is not seen. Timelessness is not seen. It's the evidence of that. Your life has become that. We are that. We have become the substance and the evidence of timelessness. We have become the substance and the evidence of calmness of mind and quietness of heart. We have become the substance and the evidence that only innocence reign. That there is no death. There is no guilt. There is no judgment. There is no pain and sorrow and sickness. They're all a part of a misunderstanding and a mind that has gone prodigal. But that mind has been brought back into its original space, its original habitation. And love is ever present here and now. So, to conclude lesson 308, and conclude we will. Thanks for this instant, Father, in every instant, because every instant is an instant. Every instant is holy. Every instant is filled with the glory of God as you. And so we give thanks. We're happy and grateful. We are so happy and grateful now that we know that we are a part of the infinite. To that which we have to do, to that which we live and move and have our being, it is in the infinite. It is in this holy instant. It is now. It is now. It is now. It is in this instant, this holy instant, that I am redeemed. That I am rescued from the illusion of separation. That I'm rescued from my own made up self. I am rescued for the false ideas that we created this world in. I am rescued from all of the dreams of separation in this moment. Not in the past, not in the future, but right now. Let the redeemed say so. I am the redeemed. Paul puts it this way: Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the belief in separation. He called it the curse of the law. And that we have become the righteousness of God in Christ. So if you are the redeemed, you ought to be saying so. If you are the redeemed, you say so right now. There is nothing to come. There is nothing else to come. So there's no looking forward in the future, because there is no future. There's no need to look in the past. There's only this now moment that we say yes to all of what God has done for us. We say yes to all the promises of God. Yes to all the guarantees. Yes to the very oath that God took with himself when he said, blessing, I have blessed humanity. Humanity is to the praise of my glory. So all the universe knows this. The stars and the moon and the galaxies, the sun and the ocean and the trees, the animals and the vegetation, and every grain of sand knows humanity. Is God's highest possession, is God's very purpose, is God's very imagination. We are to the praise of his glory. All of us. And nothing in time, nothing in the past, or nothing in the future can change that. But we remain as God created us, as love. This instant is the time. This instant, this holy instant, right now. If you're listening to me, right now. There's only one reality, and it is right now. It has nothing to do with an experience you had. It has nothing to do with a thought of one that you want to have. It all has to do with right now. So right now is this holy instant, in this holy moment. We declare our redemption. We declare our reconciliation. We declare that we remain as God created us. And that is a fact. And we herald this declaration throughout all the universe. We say to the universe, the inner and the outer verses, everywhere that it may seem to be something that is not a part of the one thing, we declare and decree our oneness with our Father. And we are not here for this world. We're not here for the falsity of time, but it's here for us to learn that now we can what? Calm down. We can have calmness of mind. We can have quietness of heart. We don't get thrown to the left or the right. We don't get tossed to and fro by the happenings or the appearances in this world. We just speak to them. Peace be still. Peace be still. I speak to every person that's under the sound of my voice. I speak to you. I say peace, which is what you are. Be still. Be still and know that you are God. Be still and know that you are one with the Creator. Be still and know that you remain just as innocent as God is, that you remain just as holy as God is, just as infinite and eternal as God is. That's how you are right now. And we are here to learn, to embrace that. Therein lies the calmness of mind and the what? Quietness of spirit. So this instant is the time that our Father has appointed for us to embrace our release. Our release, where we release ourselves from the prison that we built and that the prison that we built and placed ourselves in. And it all happened in our wrong, false thinking. Now we have the mind of Christ, and we know we have equality with our Father and with each other. Therefore, there's nothing to fuss or fight over, because we have it all. We have it all. We have it all. When this become our inner world, your outer world will change. But your outer world has been what it is because your inner world has been a world of limitation and time. A world of birth and death. A world of scarcity and lack and separation. Of multiple choices, of beginnings and endings, of flux and flows. But we now know, and we now accept our own release. And for salvation of the world, and for the salvation of the world, along with what? Humanity. So we let all the world go free. We let all humanity go free. There's nothing to judge. There's nothing to look for in the future. There's nothing in the past because it doesn't exist. So we stand here in this holy instant and affirm that we are the second and the first. And every coming that has ever come, we're it. And so we look for nothing. Why? Because we have everything. We have accepted what's been given. And God has given us every single solitary thing. And for that we give thanks. For that we are happy and we are grateful. For that what? We abide in this calmness of mind and this quietness of heart, knowing that all things have already worked together for this reality. So you cannot lose. You cannot lose. That's impossible. For anyone to lose. This holy instant. Oh my God. So as you go through your day, and your mind wants to drift into a past that doesn't exist or a future that only brings about anxiety, remind yourself, no, this holy instant, I am the redeemed. I am the I am the I am the I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. And no one comes what to the Father but by me. Why? Because I and the Father are one. Remind yourself of that. Remind yourself of this truth that is true always. And just like clockwork, my self showed up in the form of Heidi. Just like clockwork. Myself showed up in the person of Heidi. Hello, Heidi. Okay, I'm cutting out of here. Have a great day. I got a birthday to go and celebrate. And you know how I'm going to celebrate that birthday? In this now moment. Birth is representative of what? Of the extension of life, the giving of life. So in every moment of every day, it's the giving of life. It's the giving life. It's the extension of life. And so we're going to celebrate the extension, the giving of the one life that we share. Thank you, Heidi. You guys have a great day, great weekend. We'll talk to you on tomorrow. Well, yeah, tomorrow. I'm going to do a live tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do a live tomorrow. All right. Until next time.